Hello everyone, welcome back to Rule the Roost podcast. Look, I'm not going to do an intro because I always end up sort of slipping over myself and fucking it up and it coming out a jumbled mess, and that's exactly what's happening now.
I was thinking that.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It just, even when I'm trying not to, it happens.
I'm not going to do an intro and then...
And then I start doing an intro, I just start going off on one. That's that voice you can hear there is Flav, and we're also joined by Ricky, two of the Fighting Cock lads. And I thought, lads, you know, I've seen all this like Bale retiring. I was filled with nostalgia, so I thought, you know, I'll get two of the lads on who I've been. Like, life's disappeared a bit, right? Don't you think? I mean, I'm not trying to get too like sad about it. I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's suddenly like I remember vividly being 15 and on an internet message board and talking to you two about Gareth Bale, and now here we are. You two already in your 40s, me nearly there.
Yeah,
and he's retired. You know?
What, do you want me to have an existential crisis on your podcast?
Well, I mean, you know, go on. This is the place for it, mate. This is where you
40?
can let loose. Me, not for two and a bit years yet.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, I know. Spring chicken, innit?
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. The passing of time is not lost on me. It's something that I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and dread about every single night.
Did you see Zeus's tweet?
What was
about Bale? It was basically like, you know, seeing Gareth Bale retire makes me realise that day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, we're decaying to the point of slowly dying.
Yeah.
Still, Bale was good, wasn't he? You know?
Mate, that geezer is a genius.
Yeah, he's brilliant, isn't he? He's
he really is.
How did you feel? Like, you know, I will put off Arsenal for a bit. How did you feel about seeing Bale retire? Did it muster anything up on you, or was he dead to you after he left?
Yeah, I couldn't. I don't care.
You don't care? Are you one of them?
Really. I don't care about any of that. I don't care. When someone famous dies, it stirs nothing in me at all, other than how old is he? Shit, that's sort of 10 years away from where I am. That's about it. It's not like. It's not. I don't get nostalgic. Like, he was great. He was brilliant at Spurs, and look, we'll probably never see a player as individually brilliant as him at Tottenham ever again. Different, like, Kane's a better player than Bale was for Tottenham, right? But Kane's a different type of player. But as an individual who does magic things, we'll probably never see someone do what he did for Tottenham. If we do, we're very lucky. So I appreciate that sort of stuff. But he did fuck off to Real Madrid, let's be honest. Like, that sullied him. And I get it. It happens all the time. Great players move clubs all the time. But I don't like it when it happens to our players. So, yeah, I don't really care. Like, 33 as well, he could have played on, do you know what I mean?
He could be arsed, could he? He's made loads
Clearly.
of money. What's the point, you know?
Is he our greatest ever... is Great Britain's best ever player?
Yeah.
Greatest player.
It's between him and Rooney, right? And it's him. It's definitely him.
Yeah, just because what he did at Real Madrid. But some people responded like, no,
it's bollocks. He wasn't even at his peak. Think about it. That last season at Spurs, he literally was a one-man team. You know, he was unstoppable. He was just one of those players. I think Suarez did it around the same time, maybe a couple of years later. I can't really remember. We've sort of seen it with Haaland now. There are just some of those players that are just a force of nature. You can't stop them. And they're head and shoulders the best player in the Premier League. And that was Bale for me. And he wasn't even at his best at that point, you know. So
Yeah, totally.
Was that a nice little picture of you and him, Ricky, that you shared yesterday?
Yeah, I've got a couple during that era where my season ticket was row 2 in the South Stand. So a lot of the goals where players wheeled away in celebration, I was papped with said player, and during that time Bale scored a lot of important goals for us, so I got quite a few of him. But I don't think I have ever seen a player as explosive, exciting, with an end product at Tottenham in my life. Like, I remember when the magician Ginola got the ball and could dribble, and, you know, at times he'd have an end product and he'd have an amazing shot, score, whatever. But it wasn't always kind of like we would look to Ginola to carry the ball further up the field, and kind of that was it really. We'd want him to score, and we'd want him to score more, but it never really materialised. And that's kind of like one of the standout players for me that I think of. Lennon, he was electric on the ball as well, but he just didn't have that end product. With Bale, there was a time where everyone would be staring at Bale, because you knew as soon as he got the ball, he was going to take on the defender every time, and just sprint past them and stick it in the net. And it didn't matter who it was, what team we were playing, Champions League, whatever. He would do it. And the thing is, people would double up on him and he would still get through them. And you just knew, when you kind of know if you're going up against an opponent and you're going to lose, that's how the opposition were. They just feared him. And although, like with Harry, his all-round game is better than Bale's, that kind of, like The Rock, the most... And it was electrifying in sports entertainment. That's what Bale was.
The people's eyebrow.
Yeah, that's what Bale was. And even though, there are people that wrestle better than The Rock, like Kane Kane. I don't know why I'm doing this wrestling.
What's going on?
I know. I don't know. It's that fucking cow. You got talking about wrestling. Get into my fucking brain. Talking about wrestling all the time. But anyway, Kane overall better player, but he just doesn't have that.
Wait, Kane the footballer or Kane the wrestler?
I don't know anymore. I literally don't know. I don't know.
Do you know what my favourite Gareth Bale memory was? When he was injured and he was sat up above the shelf, and I think for about 3 to 5 minutes, the fans around the shelf were all singing, "Stand up if you love Tottenham, stand up if you love Tottenham." And he sort of sat there and they're waiting and he doesn't do it, and they do it again until you could tell somebody with him had literally just been like, "Just fucking stand up." Do you know what I mean? It was around the time when he was getting rumoured to leave and all that, and then he left.
Well, I also remember him not playing against Chelsea because he had a baby. What's that about?
Inconsiderate, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, just fucking, the baby's going to be there for the rest of your life. This is important game against Chelsea, and your wife's gone into labour, so I know this probably might not be a palatable thing to say in this modern age, but he should have played.
What's that? What is it? In the office, the horrible fella from the warehouse says when the pregnant woman asked him to stop smoking.
Yeah.
I care. Some sad tosser's blown his beans up your muff.
Yeah. And that was one of the greatest lines in British television, I think.
Everyone knows a fella like that. One of those warehouse players that just don't give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? It would just cut you down like that, and you leave you standing there like, oh, what?
Blown your beans. Someone's blown his beans up your muff. Terrible.
Vile. How you feeling about Conte, Flav? Still settled down a bit now. We've had a good smashing win against. Because I heard on the Fighting Cock the other day. I think you're sort of in a probably not quite the same boat as me, but your point was like, look, with all this moaning and all this shit around it, I'm not actually that arsed. I don't want him to go, but if he does go, whatever. I
think there's a couple of things. There's one. Look, there's a lot actually. The football hasn't been good enough, in my opinion, for him to be putting. He hasn't done enough with the players we have in our squad for him to be in this position where he's saying, well, if the club don't match my ambitions, then I'm going to leave. Because there are lesser players and lesser groups of players in terms of quality who are doing a lot better than Tottenham are and playing better football than we are. So I think he should be doing more to get a better brand of football out of us with the players he's got, even considering the injuries. But he's chosen to play the way he does, and he thinks that that's the most the way we're going to amass the most amount of points. So and obviously he knows so much more about football than I ever will. So you bow to that knowledge and accept that that's what he wants to do, and that's fine as well, right? But my main issue with him is and I'm repeating stuff I've said elsewhere, but the contract situation. Now I understand that he's trying to push Levy into a corner, if that's even what he's doing, saying, look, if you're not going to spend our way out of this state of inertia that Tottenham appear to be in, then there's no point in me being here. He's being very clear that I need lots of money and I need quality players in order to achieve what I think I should be achieving in winning trophies and winning the league. And that's a fact. We need to spend 200, 300 million pound on this squad in order to be genuine title contenders. My issue, though, is that if you're not willing to commit to the future, then how can you expect the players coming in to commit to your ideas? Like, if you're not going to be here, for all intents and purposes, he might be gone at the end of the season based on the contract. How can you convince players to come and sign for you if you're not committed to it? You're asking them to sign 4 years of their life away, 5 years of their life away to a club that's very difficult to get out of if Daniel Levy doesn't want you to leave. Then like, what you're not leading from the front. That's my issue. And I don't really understand it, because he could sign a 4-year contract and walk away at any point, because that's the way football works.
Get a bigger payout.
You get a bigger payout, yeah. And to be fair to him, obviously he's not interested in the money, otherwise he would do that. But almost every other manager does that. So that's my... And it would take away so many conversations that Spurs, we have to have on a day-to-day basis with fans from other clubs. Not that that's a big problem, but we are having those conversations. Oh, he doesn't want to be there constantly. He doesn't want to be there. Clearly he doesn't want to be there. And he wouldn't have to field these fucking questions from journalists who have to ask the question, are you going to be here? Because that's the only issue. So you could remove all that by signing the contract and it goes away. But I think with... you've only... He's done at every club when he's had the money, and he's had big money at every club. He's achieved success. And for him not to have that, if it is about money, and for him not to get it, knowing that Spurs have money, it would be... I can understand why people are... why the move to remove Daniel Levy from the football club, even if that is an impossible task, is starting to gain traction.
Do you think it's a happier place at the moment, Rick? Do you think he looks kind of... Because I thought he looked quite jolly against Crystal Palace, but also against Portsmouth. You know, it wasn't like a barnstorming performance or victory, but it was still a professional job well done kind of thing. I mean, sort of think he'll be in a good place for Arsenal?
Yeah, I think even though he was disappointed with the loss against Villa and how much he hates losing, as he always says, I mean, he came across and he said he was pleased with the application and performance and how the team was working, and it was just a couple of errors that, you know, was our undoing. So I believe that he and the assistant manager came out, said that that they believe in the work they are doing, they have confidence in the work they are doing, and where they had started the starting point and where they have been doing all their coaching and changing everything at the club, they are about where they should be in league position, mentality, team, stuff like that. I think that's where I think they're all quite happy with the progress. But then it becomes another thing of, I think there's a few things at play here. I think that to become that elite club that Conte wants us to be, he wants us to spend a lot of money. And I think with the pressure of the media, pressure of the fans, and his reputation, he wants us to get there quicker rather than a very slow way of how we would normally do this. And we'd build there and we'd get there in 2 to 3 seasons, the way that we're going on this trajectory. He said about, buying 50-60 million pound players, 2 of them every transfer window. But what about if you got 50-60 million pound players, 4 of them or 5 of them every transfer window? You'd get there a lot quicker, wouldn't you? And I think that's what he's trying to apply pressure for us to do, to get there quicker and to get results quicker, which is fair enough. I'm also think that there is a bit of like Levy and Conte, they're a bit at loggerheads really, as to say, Levy saying that maybe, I'd spend 40 million on a player, but they have to be young, they have to have sell-on value, and Conte saying, well, this guy is ready-made now, even though he's 29, 40 million, pay it, because this is what we're going to get now, not tomorrow, not in a couple of weeks, we need it now. And this is what the results will give. So I think there is those bits there that he's kind of unhappy with, but he understands. And sometimes, depending what mood you catch him, if you catch him when we've just smashed Palace and ask him that question, he'll be okay with it. I understand, the club have a policy. I have to go along with it. If you ask him after, Villa, it's kind of like the club, they're stopping me doing what I need to do, and very, subtle digs about Levy and the regime, that they won't give him what he wants, really. I do feel like Flav was saying about the contract thing, it is unsettling. Like, why is Harry going to pen another deal when he thinks when Conte isn't going to be around? Why are other players going to pen new deals when they don't know who's going to be around? Why are people going to come to the club in this January transfer window, or even be talked to like by Paratici lined up in the summer as to say, do you know what? Come play with us. We've got an amazing stadium. We've got an amazing training facility. We've got the best manager in the world, like one of the best managers in the world, best striker in the world. Like, why are people going to come along? Because if he's not outwardly committing himself to the club, then why are other people going to come to the club? Why is anyone going to buy into that? Now, we're not saying that. I'm not saying that. Right, you need to come out and you need to pen a fucking 6-year deal, just a year extension, like just either 2 years, whatever, just something that says I am here for the long haul or longer haul, and that the people that we're trying to attract and what we're trying to do is still that's what we're working towards.
Do you think he though? I mean, because this is one of those things I always fall back. I'm always basically on the fence with a lot of this stuff. And I always think, like, he's complaining about the calibre of players. We've got lots of fans that say, our squad's shit, it's this. But when you look at it, man, like, we're still, this season, we haven't even really played that well. We're 5th in the Premier League. And who are we alongside? We're alongside Manchester United, who have spent, £1 billion in the past 6-7 years. Liverpool, who have spent hundreds of millions of pounds in transfers and wages. Newcastle, who are, I mean, people are sort of, I get it, Eddie Howe deserves some credit, but they are still spending a lot of money nowadays. City, obviously, Arsenal have spent, we all know how much they've spent, and Spurs still managed to keep up with them. So, I just think maybe we're not, and some of that is obviously in part down to the work of Antonio Conte, because before he came here, we were finishing like 6th, 7th and all that before, for a couple of years anyway, after Pochettino left. So, I'm not as convinced it's like as this is how I find it hard to get really involved in the kind of like the real visceral kind of Enoch out stuff, because I don't see it as being that bad at Spurs. You're right, we'd all like to fucking think we can win the Premier League, but isn't that what every single fan in the country wants their club to do?
I think a lot of what the Enoch Outlaw are saying is I mean, demanding that he leaves the club is extreme, because of what he has done thus far. He deserves. I think he's earned a lot of respect. He should be given a lot of respect, and that shouldn't be forgotten. But you do look at what Arsenal have done, which is essentially spend to their limit, and now they're flying with young, really exciting players and top of the league. And you're looking at us, and there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have been doing that. And it may be that we've just signed the wrong players, and they've been better in the transfer market than us. And we have in the last 2 transfer windows been a little bit more, well, actually quite a lot. We've spent significantly. But
it's those windows, though, right? And when we're building the stadium, that's
since 2016, they've spent about £200 million more than we have. And this is the thing, is fundamentally what football comes down to now. If you want to be successful, you have to spend money. It's not about cultivating players. It's not about bringing them through. It's just buying as many good players as you can.
Both, though, right? Look at Saka. He's probably their best player, and he's through their academy. So
they got lucky. No, I'm sure it does happen. You have to invest in it to a certain degree, and having a good youth development process is very profitable. even if it doesn't mean that a lot of these players get into your first team. But with Conte there, and that is what is exciting about having Conte, is fundamentally this is what he's demanding. And Daniel Levy is really in a difficult position, in part now by what of this groundswell of movement to oust him at the club. All of that is working. I think will work in our favour, because Daniel Levy needs now to get those players that Conte wants, and to get those players he has to spend significantly. And if we get that as fans, that's everything, right? We get great players. We've got a manager who's proven that he can work with great talent to get success. So it is it's an interesting time. It's interesting that as well that this sort of QSI group who want to invest in Spurs, apparently not even them. There's two other consortiums that want to buy a stake in Spurs as well. So in my head, I've created this ideal situation, right? I think that Daniel Levy wants to sell that maximum minority stake of 29.3%, which would be worth about £1 billion to Tottenham. That means that he can take £1 billion out, and that goes to shareholders, to ENIC, to whoever needs to receive that money. He remains in charge. He keeps his job, and this Qatari group will fund our transfer activity at no cost to ENIC. If that is what's happening, that is an absolutely, forget like the ethical side of it for a second. On a footballing terms, that is an ideal situation as fans for us to be in. Because Levy is he is brilliant at what he does. It's just the football side of it that he lacks a little bit. But
I'm just interested to know how it all works with regard to them already owning PSG, how active they can actually be, how much they can be seen to be, say, actively bolstering, like, for example, giving us money to buy players with, if that would actually be allowed, or if it would have to be done through some backdoor route, if you get what I mean.
I understand what you mean in terms of both of us playing in the Champions League.
Yeah, well, exactly that.
Well, I mean, Red Bull Salzburg and Red Bull Leipzig playing in the Champions League together. They're owned by the same people.
There's nothing dodgy there or anything.
There is. I don't know. I don't care really, but they're able to do it. They exchange
I think Red Bull
players.
I think Red Bull have a few teams, don't they?
Cheeky pigs.
But granted, I don't think they cross over in where they're playing at the moment. But like you said, Leipzig and Salzburg, yeah, definitely.
Rick,
there's always ways. Look at the way Man City have managed to cook the books. It's always, if there's money involved, there's ways to do it.
I love those expressions. Cook the books. Yeah. It reminds me of like 90s news reporting. Do you know what I mean? Oven-ready solutions. And
Didn't ENIC have shares in other clubs as well?
Apoel and Rangers.
Rangers.
Yeah, Rangers.
Isn't there some... Yeah. Oh, yeah, you'll get in trouble talking about Rangers again, Rick, on here. But
fucking hell.
What happened?
Rick got cancelled for saying Rangers had good support because they sing sectarian stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm going to back Ricky up here. There's part of the reason why the Old Firm is such an amazing derby is because of the political backdrop. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Some people.
I just had one guy send in for me.
All right. You know, I get that every week now. What was it the other? So I got people sending for me on something that John Bass said. I didn't even say it. I just on that, while we're talking about the Old Firm, I did a phone in with 606. They get fans in to debate with each other. It's fucking bullshit. But I did it with Chris Sutton, and he asked me whether or not what's more important, winning the league. What's bigger, winning the League Cup in England or winning Rangers or Celtic winning the league in Scotland? And I said the League Cup's more important.
It is though, isn't it?
I think it is, but I ended up being quoted in the fucking Daily Record up there.
Mate, you're going to get ironed out.
I know.
You're going to go for a nice holiday up to, let's go to Edinburgh. You and the missus for the weekend. Have a nice walk, look at some castles, taste a bit of whiskey. There he is.
Dead.
Rick, what do you make of what Arsenal are doing? Is Arteta there? Is he there, Pochettino, do you think? Is this their kind of moment? And because the fear for me, because I sort of think it is that, and the fear for me is that they're backing him in those windows for almost sort of saying that in my fence sitting on them, one of the sort of worst times for them was not back in Pochettino in those 3 windows when we had the best team. We didn't build on that team, and the moment went. The momentum of that all went. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we added Lo Celso and Ndombele, but the wheels were already coming off of it all, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, well, as long as Arteta does what Poch did and not win anything, then I'm okay with that. But I think you're right. I think they with Arteta's pedigree and his history with the club, I think they are looking at it, and I think they are seeing a similar model from when Poch was very successful, and that he was able to coach players that we already have, and bring on youth players and develop them, and kind of build a really kind of harmonious and great environment for young players to thrive, really. And that's exactly what he's doing over at the Gooners at the moment.
It fucking stinks.
And yeah, and the thing is, I can't see that they're going to get to a point, and it should be fairly soon. Cause how long has he been in charge there? 3 years, 4 years?
4 years, I think. I think this is 4th year. Yeah.
Okay, so they are, if they are going to be giving him the money that they have been, then he needs to be able to show some silverware, or at least some kind of rewards for it. And if he doesn't come up with those, then will the Gooners turn on him? Like I don't at the moment, obviously not. But there is going to become a point where the club say, look, mate, we've given you like 500 mil. And you've not really, we play attractive football. We're finishing higher up in the league than we were. The club is in a better position from when you took over, but we need to see some silver, boy.
Look, if they don't, I would say from this position, if they don't win the Premier League from this position, there'll be a large percentage of Arsenal fans that will be wanting him out. 100%.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I know how sensitive they are, but I think that would be crazy. I
think he'll get a few more seasons. He'll get a few more seasons, and he'll get a bit more money. But then there is going to become a point where he's completely changed the starting 11. He's completely changed the squad. And if they haven't kind of qualified for the Champions League or won anything fairly significantly, then questions will be asked, and I don't think they can just keep going in that trajectory of how much money they're giving him and not getting a return. Really,
well, they're not selling any players, and their squad isn't big enough for them to start selling players to balance the book. So there will be a finite amount of money that they can spend, and they must be on the cusp. But they spent so much money without recouping hardly anything. The other issue is what Arsenal fans feeling right now is kind of what we felt when under Pochettino, where everything was sort of going in the right direction. But that feeling doesn't last forever, and especially at Arsenal, where their expectation will go through the roof from this point onwards. And the minute it starts to falter, that's when they'll start to fall apart as a fan base. That's what they are. It's because the foundations of why that club's built on, of what they are as a football club, can only be important if Arsenal are playing well. If they're not playing well, they fall apart because they've got nothing to fall back on. They're not a proper football club. They spit in the face of the traditions of the game. As we said many times, they're an awful club that's built on terrible foundations. It shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't exist. Certainly shouldn't exist in North London. So that's fundamentally what Arsenal are. So the fact that if they're not moving on an upward trajectory, then they will start to. You'll hear the frustrations. And with all clubs is that there's a ceiling to what everybody can achieve. And if they don't win the league this year, with teams falling, the very best teams dropping points all over the place, then they probably won't win it for the foreseeable future, because they've played their ace card, they've spent the money. They'll be relying on this group of players getting better and better, but it isn't big enough to sustain the kind of success that they demand, I think.
I still think they're a really good, well-balanced team. If I've been brutally honest about it, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can, I still don't think they quite have that absolute star player. I don't think. I mean, we had Harry Kane, and we didn't quite get it over the line. You might say the squad wasn't. I honestly think their squad now is comparable to what we had under Pochettino, but maybe not even as good as that. And they still don't have a Harry Kane. I see what you're saying, and I think you touched on something interesting there, Flav, in terms of like what they're built on, because obviously historically we know they're built on, coming from Woolwich and sort of basically robbing land in North London and trying to create a rivalry with us. But this sort of current generation now, so if we say like kind of what like the sort of Gen Zs who are coming into their 20s now, some of their sort of like this Ashburton army, the very vocal side of it, like you say, they only know success because they've all been born and raised in the era when Arsenal were winning everything, right? And that's it. That's why they support. All right, a lot of them, I'm sure, support Arsenal because their dad does and whatever, but their dads are cunts, at the end of the day.
All tossers, isn't it?
But a lot of them will be supporting them because they were the best team or one of the best teams in the country at that point. And I think getting this close to it, and if they don't get it over the line, I think hurts them more. It fucking hurt us, right? It still hurts me thinking that we didn't get anything over the line with Pochettino. Like, obviously the FA Cup, League Cup, whatever, take it or leave it in my opinion. But FA Cup, it hurts. And I really thought we were going to get one of the big ones. I did under him. I thought that Champions League was ours. Didn't happen, obviously. I know. But I thought it. But we can get over it. It's not kind of what we're used to, right? But with them, I just feel like there's an extra kind of panic for them. That feeling of like maybe they're back. But if they're not, are they actually just irrelevant now? Are they a relic of football from a kind of another era? I mean, do you, in your gut, Flav, are they going to do it though? Do you think they will?
I think they're in an excellent position. I think if they don't win it from this position, then they'll be bottling it. It'll be a bottle job, right? And that's look. If they win it, fucking hell, it'll be awful and it'll be terrible. And it's just one of those things. Another thing that, as a Spurs fans, we just have to suck up and accept. But the silver lining is, if they are up against Manchester City, who won't drop as many points in the second part of the season as they have in the first, and they are relentless. And if you want anyone, from a Spurs fan's perspective, if you want anyone chasing them, it's Man City. My gut feeling, I think they're in a good position, but I think the size of their squad will impact them, and I think Manchester City will win the league. I really, really hope.
I mean, we could really derail them at the weekend. We really could. It could be. It's the thing is, it's a fucking massive game in that respect.
It makes me feel sick.
Do you think they'll do it, Rick?
Nah.
You don't?
Nah, not at all. I think. I mean, it's horrible to think. There's still a fucking long way. We're at like beginning of January at the moment, and
we're not even at Christmas in terms of games played.
That sort of momentum,
and the World Cup. Yeah, it is. It is the momentum they've got. But
that's what bothers me most.
As soon as you have a few results that are unfavourable, then the wheels can start freezing. They can start getting a bit sticky. And the game against, was it Newcastle that they drew? I think they recently played Newcastle.
Yeah, they drew 0-0.
And they drew. And that game was an evening game. I think it was during the week. Was it maybe? I can't remember. But it's those types of games. Those, when you've been playing Europa and all eyes are on you on the Monday night football, and you've got to go away to someone, and it's just like, if there are a couple more draws and Man City wins, a couple more this, a couple more that, just where the points kind of drift in together, the gap closes and it gets tighter and tighter, then I think that's when the wheels will fall off. And like Flav was saying, I don't think they have the squad depth to really to see it over the line, and I just think Man City are just too much of a beast to not catch them with the points that they can. So I don't think they will.
I mean, if you look at it, if we beat Arsenal at the weekend, and they're coming into it like super confident, and I think they don't think we're. I don't think that we can sort of live with them, and we can. Obviously, we can. Like we beat Man City home and away last year, and they won the league. So the idea that we can't beat Arsenal in this game is mental. Of course, we can beat them. If we do, then and Man City win, it's down to 2 points. 2 points at this stage.
We've got to, our stadium, it doesn't matter because look, let's say, I would say on the balance, right, the past 10 years, I'd fuck their FA Cups. Over the balance of the past 10 years, we've been the better team, I would say. But they have still managed to make the Emirates a fucking fortress. We've rocked up there plenty of times. We've spoken about it either on Fighting Cock or on here. Those times when we've rocked up in the past thinking, Joe, what we're going to do them this year? We're on our way to the title and we're going to rub it in their fucking horrible little faces at the Emirates. And they still managed to do us the 5-2s, even just the miserable kind of 2-1s and all that sort of stuff they get over us. Winning once out there. We have to do that here. Like
they haven't beaten us at White Hart Lane for a long time. They
haven't beaten us at the new one either at all.
Yeah, so it's not like it isn't. It's not like it's an easy place for them to come. It's just they're coming in with a lot of confidence at the moment. I mean, what is more likely to happen is that Arsenal beat us and we beat Man City.
Fucking, it's just.
Can you imagine that?
Well,
Stop saying it, Flav. It's going to come true, you twat.
You don't need to imagine it. That's the problem, right? Like, you don't need to imagine that hard anyway, because it's just... I mean, do you buy that, Flav? Do you buy... Because I just don't. You know, when people say, you can never want Tottenham to lose, I don't care if we lose to City. Honestly, if that happens, I wouldn't care if we lost to City. I wouldn't.
No.
And people say, you can't think about what they're doing. It's about what... Of course it matters what they're fucking doing. Of course it matters. Like, you can't just discount what acting like Arsenal winning the league wouldn't be fucking awful. Like,
no, I mean, the part of, whether you like it or not, part of Tottenham's existence involves Arsenal and vice versa. And fans that just choose to... I would love the luxury of that, of my brain not of working that way. My brain just going, I'm not really worried about Arsenal. I'm not bothered about them. I would love that. My life would be so much more... So it would be less stressful if I didn't have to worry about what Arsenal are doing this season. But the vast majority of Spurs fans, 99% of them do, because Arsenal, whether you like it or not, are our nemesis and vice versa. Regardless of where we are in the leagues or what division you're in or the position you're in, it's this game that's most important. The most important. And for what the game against Man City would effectively be 3 points. It means nothing in the grand scheme of things. If it dents Arsenal's chance of winning the league, it's so much more important that we don't aid them. Do you think it's? I think people that aren't impacted by Arsenal don't spend a lot of time around Arsenal fans. I think that's probably what it is. But I was talking to one on Monday, and he said the idea of Spurs beating Man City and helping Arsenal win the league is glorious. They want that to happen. They want us to win. And that's the position we're in. It's better for this rivalry if Spurs drop points against Man City, even if it hinders our ambitions this season. For me, it's more important that Arsenal don't win the league than Spurs finish in the top 4.
Imagine us taking our customary 6 points off of Man City this season and still just finishing like 7th anyway.
Because they win the league, and they win the league by 5 points, or a point, whatever it is.
Don't.
Yeah, that's worse. That's worse because there's infinite amounts of league seasons. There aren't infinite amounts of this scenario. And right now you have to manage the scenario. And whatever that is that prevents Arsenal from winning the league, that's the correct path, I think.
It has to be. Like that. If we can't win the league this year, which we're not going to, let's be honest, we're not in any position to do that. Our sole objective has to be just stopping them from doing it. And hoping with every fibre in our bodies that they don't.
I'm watching every Man City game as almost like a Man City fan. Please win, City. Please win.
And they're shit.
when Everton drew at Main Road, at the Etihad, I was gutted. It was like Spurs had dropped points. Absolutely gutted.
But it's fucked up how the psychology changes, right? Because the second you're behind Man City, mate, you build up Man City as this terrifying thing. Haaland as this unstoppable brute. But when you're behind them and you're watching them sort of struggling, all right, they got it over the line in the end against Stamford Bridge, or at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. There's that part of me that's like, they're not all that, you know. They're not. Haaland, like, all right, he's quick, he's physical, but he's not that good. He's not
It's a
that
bit clumsy.
great a footballer,
I think that's what I'm saying. I think like it's going to be a mad thing to say, but I think a lot of fans might scoff at it. But Kane is a better footballer.
He's miles better, miles
You'd
better.
much rather have Kane now than you would Haaland.
Yeah,
you just
100%.
would. So I'm going. Sounds like a name drop and stuff, but I'm going on Sky on Saturday, right? And that because I need to find a.
Sorry, I've kept you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. No, but like, I've got to deflect from Arsenal and Spurs a bit, right? Because I can't go on there giving shit about Spurs doing Arsenal, right? You're going to look like an idiot. So there's two things I'm going to do. I'm going to put I'm going to do as much as I can to make it that Arsenal could bottle it, and it's going to be glorious when they do. And I'm going to say that Kane is better than Haaland, and that's what I'm going to do to deflect. And I think that I don't think the Kane versus Haaland thing at the beginning of the season, people go, yeah, Haaland all day is better, but it's clear that he's not a better forward than Kane.
I mean, Kane's quietly having a disgusting season.
He is, isn't he?
Like, he's
Who scored more at the moment between
Haaland has
Haaland, but I think he's got 3 or 4 more goals at the moment.
Right, okay.
But I think Harry loves that. The second he sees this thing come into the league, sort of this tomcat pissing on his territory, it gets Harry Kane going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly it, man.
It's the same when Salah came over. Do you know what I mean? Like, hello.
Yeah,
Hello?
listen.
Yes.
You said Salah coming, you know what I mean, and then nothing.
Yeah.
Harry,
Same sort of play. I thought I'd say something controversial, and I was like, "What have I said?" Fucking hell.
Haaland has 21 goals. To be fair, it's an obscene amount. Kane has 15, but he's playing for City. Like if Kane was playing for City, I'm sure he'd love to, or would have loved to. He would have as many goals as Haaland, sure.
You know, for your Sky thing, Flav, you have to look at the actual numbers, but like this officially, it would be the biggest bottling of all time if Arsenal didn't do it from here. No club has ever been this far ahead without winning the Premier League now.
No, that's not true though, is it?
At this point in the season,
Liverpool were 13 clear. City had games in hand, but they were. Hang on, I'll find it. I don't think that's true, but it is pretty. I mean, it's
even if it's not true,
just go with it.
Yeah, or just say like the second biggest the third biggest bottling. Mate, just get it in there anyway. Plant the seed.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine last day if it goes to the last day of the season and they bottle it? Just wherever Tottenham are at home, aren't we? I think we're at Leeds. Are we playing at home against Leeds, or are we away at Leeds?
Away.
Away at Leeds. Well, still hearing the away fans, Arsenal get battered everywhere they go, as they drop the title on the last day of the season, probably to Newcastle.
Sorry, City had a 14-point lead over Liverpool, but I think they won the league though, didn't they? Didn't they?
No, City have definitely the year. So Liverpool won the league in lockdown, didn't they? And they just flew out the blocks and they were ahead the whole way. I think that year, the year they won the title.
Who won the league into? So this, they've updated the article, so I'm not sure when this was originally written, but they had a 14 Man City. Pep Guardiola makes fake claim about Man City 14-point lead over Liverpool, but it says updated April 2022. So I'm not sure exactly when that was published. Maybe it was last year. I'm not sure. But there was who won the league last year? It was Man City.
Okay. All right. So January, ESPN FC.
Yeah, it was
January the 1st. Never has a Premier League club with as many points as Arsenal, 43, at this stage of the season, not won the league.
Wow. Good stat. Definitely going to bank that.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it.
So if they don't do it, mate, they're done. You know?
Yeah, it's going to be great if they don't.
What are you thinking about the game? Let's just talk about the actual game itself. Hopefully Kulusevski's going to be back. Bentancur, questionable. If he's not, do you chuck Sarr into that game, Rick? Because he's looked pretty fucking special, I think, these Party games. But this is another level, right?
Yeah, that I mean, as I said on Monday's Fighting Cock pod, that I think for me, Sarr has been a player that I've been most surprised with, and that I feel that he's got more of a ceiling than Hill, and I've been more impressed with Sarr's performance than Hill's. But this is the North London derby. The atmosphere is going to be fucking mental. Chucking him in, I don't know, man. I don't know. But then what would the alternative be? It would be Højbjerg and Skip.
Or Basuma if he's fit.
Basuma, yeah, if he's fit. But man. But if he wasn't fit for the game, will he be fit against Arsenal? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
and then Skip.
Conte said that Bentancur will be fit for Arsenal.
I think, yeah. Well, I think he said that they're hoping him and Kulusevski. The assistant manager said one of them will be back.
You would think that Bentancur. Are we taking it that Bentancur's of the quality that even with he's missed a month of football, that we can drop him straight back into
100%.
Yeah,
yeah. He's gravy, top drawer. Honestly,
I think
he's so much better than we think. I think as well. I think what he's going to do if he's 80% fit, he plays.
I think for me, like when he first came, and now he's been under Conte and he's understanding his role and he's got into a rhythm. At the moment, he has been absolutely quality, but when he first joined, I don't think he was there. New country, new league, adapting, all of that. I'm just hoping that when, like you're saying, that he's missed a month of football and he's dropped back in, that he doesn't go back to how he was playing, that he is able to kind of maintain that rhythm and that relationship with his teammates. And it's going to be a very kind of mad atmosphere and environment to come back into on your first game, to being sitting on the sofa for a month and doing bits of rehabilitation and going into kind of into Tottenham, then going into an actual live game with 62,000 people screaming is fucking it will be a jolt to the system. But professional footballer, he's done it throughout his life, but it's gonna be a tricky one. I don't think that if he is dropped in there that he picks up where he left off in that pomp of form. I think he'll be a bit rusty.
If Kulusevski's not fit, Flav, would you have Hill in there? Or, I mean, there's no one else, is there really? Would you worry about him against Arsenal in a fiery game? Because it is. You'd imagine it's going to be pretty, vicious.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. I mean, if there's no option. If Kulusevski's not fit, then Hill has to play. And you worry about the physicality of it. I think there's definitely a really good player in Hill, and perhaps he's not quite ready physically for the Premier League to be relied upon consistently. You just hope that you would have a great game, but in that instance where it's going to be fiery, there's going to be a lot of challenges. People aren't going to have a lot of room on the ball. That he might struggle, but he also might surprise us. We don't really know enough about him yet. We haven't seen enough about him playing for Spurs at Premier League level to really make a judgment on him. We know Conte loves him, and that's important because Conte knows the player better than we do. But I'm really, really hoping for Kulusevski, because we've just seen the results we get when he's in the team and the results we get when he isn't, and it's sort of night and day.
What I would like is obviously Bentancur and Kulusevski to start, and Richie to be named as a sub, just sitting there waiting, looking over the Gooners bench. As the camera's away, he points at each individual player, points at them, and then puts his finger to his throat as in, "I'm going to cut you." And then it goes to the next person. He's just he's not even fit, but we've got him in his shorts, t-shirt, on the bench, just waiting, just to fucking play mind games. We can put him on anytime we want.
Who's that fucking cunt, that Arsenal assistant, the one that's always got ear pods in? Looks like a right tosser.
I don't know. Can I just make Can I shock you guys?
Yeah.
I've watched 60 minutes of Arsenal all season. I haven't seen anything of them.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any. The only time I've seen them is when we played at their gaff.
I turned it off after 60 minutes, so that's all I've seen.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, same.
So I couldn't tell you anything about them really, other than that everyone's saying they're really good.
They are. Albert Stivenberg is who I was thinking of.
Sounds like a wanker.
Who the fuck is that?
You'll definitely know.
Fuck is that
he's
guy?
a right flash-looking tosser.
Jack, how do you think we're going to do on Sunday?
I think we'll be too much for him. I do. I just think there's a certain for all my criticism of Conte, I still think there's a certain fight deep down in this team and this group of players. To be fair, like we not just about Conte, we criticise these group of players quite a lot, but I still think there's a fight there and there's a level of experience that Arsenal don't have. We've got players like Son and Kane. We've got players like the Reece who can step up when need be. We've seen them do it in the past. They've been there. They've done it. And I think sometimes in these kind of this game, hopefully, it will be just a bit too much for Arsenal. I think it's almost like it's like a weird role reversal at the moment. We're kind of like that tail end kind of Wenger Arsenal. Remember the one that when they still had players like Giroud and stuff like that in the side? We're sort of that now. The sort of the seasoned old hands are, all right, the upstarts down the road, they've got this sort of promising young team, but we've still got these like hardened, horrible old like warriors that can still sort of take it to them. And I think I like to think we'll beat them, you know, and
the thing
really
is they
derail
haven't,
that.
as good as they've been this season, have they been tested in the way that we tested them last season? Like, because it isn't a huge, it's not a huge change from the team that will turn up against Spurs.
No, Newcastle gave them a proper game at the Emirates the other day.
Yeah. So, look, I think there's an assumption that there's a fear that Arsenal will come and turn us over, but I'd be surprised if they found it even remotely comfortable.
Is there any signings in January, Flav, that you would be desperate? People are talking about Pedro Porro and all that. Is there anybody going into this game, going into a game against Arsenal, is there any part of our squad that you think, fucking hell, I wish we had insert player here?
Yeah, just in defence, really. Just two really sort of good defenders, you know, similar in quality to Romero. As much as I've enjoyed Ben Davies' his turnaround under Conte. Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, and Sanchez and Tanganga are not good enough. They're not good enough for what we need, and they need to be replaced as a matter of urgency this window, in my opinion. But it doesn't seem like we're linked to any centre backs really. I mean, I know there's sort of tentative rumours around Guardiola and I can never now pronounce his name, but the geezer at Inter De Vrij.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're getting them in January.
No.
So the only one that we sort of seem to be consistently linked with is Pedro Porro. But is it Pedro? Sorry, Porro. Yeah. So I guess that, I don't know, mate. To be honest, if we weren't linked with him, I wouldn't have never mentioned his name ever again. I probably would never think about him ever again. So the fact we are linked with him and it seems to not be going away, then why not? I mean, it's clear that fullbacks or wingbacks are so important to Conte's system, and if they're working, we're going to be playing better. And the right-hand side, is something that needs to be improved, and it's just mental because if we bring this geezer in, we'll have 4 right wing-backs. So we'd need to Spence needs to go out on loan, and Emerson Royale probably needs to be sold, and I'd keep Matt Doherty and Porro if he comes in. That's what I would do, but you can kind of understand the club's position where we have to kind of sell one of these before we bring another one in. It's mental. We've got 4. And the problem with bringing people in and then selling is that you lose leverage in negotiation. So if say, fucking Aston Villa want Emerson Royale and they know we've signed Porro, then they're like, well, we're not going to pay you 20 million that you want, we'll pay you 10 million because you're desperate to get rid of him. Otherwise, you've got him on your book. So you kind of want to sell players before bringing them in, even if it is intensely irritating as fans to have to do that, because going into negotiations, and you have an obligation to some degree to get as much money as you can for the players that you're selling. And, Daniel Levy loves to do that. I don't know, man. But yeah, I guess Porro. But my knowledge of European football and players is so limited that I just tend to sort of say what everyone else is saying. Defenders, right wing backs, Bastoni.
It's Occam's razor, though, isn't it? It's what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah. This feels oddly subdued, lads. Like, it's the North London derby on the weekend, and I can tell nobody's really looking forward to this one. Are you looking forward to it, Rick?
No, I never look forward to it. Ever look forward to it. And whether we are in a rich vein of form, whether we are wounded animals, whether they are playing out their skin and we think we can be the benign, doesn't matter what fucking variation you bring me. I fucking hate this fixture, and it's horrible all week. It's even worse during game day, and then you've got another week of fucking WhatsApp messages and Facebook posts and fucking reels and this, that, and the other. It's just a horrible part of your life that happens.
It's character building.
Twice a year that you know is definitely going to happen. But yeah, I don't look forward to it. I mean, the only thing about Sunday I'm looking forward to is seeing my old man, because I haven't seen him over Christmas at all. So that'll be nice. It will be going to a cafe and getting a dirty fry up. I haven't had one of those since the last home game at Tottenham.
Don't set Flav off about your fry-ups again, mate.
No, I know. Seeing the lads, I've not seen... I saw the vast majority of them on my birthday, my 40th birthday. They came to Milton Keynes, which was lovely. And just having a beer, and all that part of going to the football, the travelling, and just a bit of time to myself, seeing your mate, seeing your dad, dirty food, guilty pleasures, all that is fucking great. But the game, I am not looking forward to it, because there's always that what if, and as humans, your mind kind of always goes to the furthest, most horriblest thing that you're going to go there and we're going to be 3-0 down in 27 minutes. And you just think, what the fuck?
Hearing that pocket of cheering from their corner of the stadium, seeing the fucking limbs going everywhere.
I can't. That's one thing I find difficult. I've been to many North London derbies in my life. And that seeing them celebrate is one of the worst things. It's just, and I don't understand. Spurs tickets, sort of the away ticket to the away game at the Emirates, right?
Yeah.
My main issue with the North London derby is I can deal with it if we lose. We've lost many games against them. If we win, it's fantastic. It's not, the losing isn't the issue for me. The reason why I don't like going and watching it live is that I have to spend 90 minutes in their presence. And the idea of going to their stadium and being surrounded by them makes me feel physically ill.
Oh, it's fucking horrible.
I wouldn't, imagine being surrounded by that scum. And you're putting yourself in that voluntary situation. And, if you win, it's magnificent. But even if you draw, just being in their presence, it's like... It's just disgusting. I hate it. I wouldn't. I used to live a stone's throw from that stadium. Like, I lived in the Holloway for a lot of my life, and I don't even look at it when I walk past. I look in the other direction. I will not even look at their stadium.
I used to do that when I used to get the overground train into work, and I knew that the stadium was to my left, and I would just be looking out to the right. I wouldn't even make eye contact with it. And as well, I've been to a game, one league game. I managed to get tickets at the Emirates, and it was the 4-4 game. So it was a fucking great game to be at. But like you were saying, even though we got the draw and the result went in our favour, as you come out, you're just surrounded by a sea of red. We hate Tottenham, like all this fucking shit going on. You're just like, this is just horrible. even if we won there, like, you can't fucking proper celebrate and stuff like, because you're just crawling with them. It's only until you get back on your own turf that you can start enjoying it. But yeah, it's not fun at all.
Just why does it have to happen, lads? Why can't it just,
It's like a root canal, isn't it? So you got to have it done. It's every now and then you have it needs to be done, but it's like
it's high risk, high reward, though, isn't it? I mean, that
exactly,
feeling when you do them, and when we started, like, these past few years, actually starting to beat them now, it not just being, because let's not forget, like, this was a lesson in abject misery for a large portion of our lives, of knowing, going through all these nerves pre-match and just knowing we're going to lose to Arsenal. Like, it was just an inevitability, right?
Yeah. Things have changed massively.
The fact that we can turn up and do them now is just, it's glorious, and they can't take that. That's the biggest thing to remember, is that, like, they've got this, like, horrible elitist kind of view of us. That's the thing that I find so ugly about our rivalry, is that we want to beat them, we want to smash them up, and that's fine. That's what football fans are supposed to do. But their whole rhetoric, the whole thing that their club is built around, is this whole kind of, we're class, we've got these marble halls, we're something different, we're a cut above Tottenham, and it's all so ugly and just, like, snobby and rank, and there's nothing nice about them at all.
No, I mean, and the reality is that regardless of what's happened in the past, or most recent history at least, or in the last 20 years, the Premier League era, right? The difference between Tottenham and Arsenal, in terms of the size of their club and what their aspiration should be, there's not much between us now. But there was back in the the 90s and in the 2000s. The gap between the two clubs was gargantuan. It was as if we were never going to finish above them, ever. Like, the idea of finishing above Arsenal was inconceivable. Each year we just thought, well, this is just something across the bear. That's what we have to deal with. But there is no difference between the club. There's no difference in revenue. There's no difference in size in terms of the amount of revenue and what you can generate. They've probably got more fans worldwide, but the how that impacts the day-to-day running of a club and what you can achieve is probably negligible because of the size of both clubs. So there isn't much difference between Tottenham and Arsenal, and there will be a flip-flopping of who is above who. And what we won't be going back to is just them being dominant over us for many years. It just give the infrastructure, what Daniel Levy has created, the platform that he's created from what we can go on to do. There's nothing between us. So this isn't a return of us finishing below Arsenal every season forever. This is just one season.
Do you know?
And this is just one moment we have to live through. Whether we win or lose, you live through it. 3 weeks later, it's forgotten, and you move on to the next time you're going to play. That's the beauty of football. Everything moves so quickly.
With there been no difference between us, there's one big difference between us right now, and it's a man on a mission the man on a mission who wants to be Tottenham's all-time greatest goal scorer. Loves a goal in the North London derby. I think he's going to do it in this game, and that's going to be the ultimate poetry, really.
Oh, can you imagine?
That's it. We don't need to. It's going to happen, mate. It's going to happen.
I mean, what more motivation does he need? It's Arsenal. He could break Reeves' record at White Hart Lane. It'll be forever remembered. And if we win as well, Jesus.